Hello, YouTube. Welcome to another instant analysis on the brand new FES cards that were announced last night. Starts basic banner starts in banner starts in about 5 hours. Okay, we're gonna start with the SRs first. Thank you for the Yosoro, the Chun Chun, and the Shiny guys. Thank you. So the first SR we're gonna go over is Mogyuto Umi. A cool attribute SK, a cool attribute SK type. This one, it actually can be half decent. 6697 base appeal, 4464 base stamina, 9133 base technique. So very, very heavy crit profile on this card. At max limit break, according to Kirara, the crit rate on this card is 42.39%. Okay. Then we have her tap active, which is a stam restore. And luckily, this is a stam restore based off of her technique. So 29% of Umi's technique, you know, it's not going to compare to like some of the other URs, but this is a very hefty stamina heal. This will heal for about 2600 every time the tap active goes off, which is pretty nice. I must say, it is pretty nice. Another thing that's sort of nice about this card, appeal all. She has an appeal all insight, max 2.2%. Just these two things alone, a stam heal based off of her technique, which is her highest stat, and an appeal all passive, makes this SR actually pretty dang good. Then when you get to her LSA is increased base crit power by 3% until the live show ends, 30% chance to activate upon song start, and it affects everybody. Now, realistically, how often are you going to be having Mogyuto Umi backlined above all the other URs? Not much. But will she be a good card for like stamina heal cheesing if you have a team set up for that for SBL? Sure, right? Because having stamina healers that are SK typed is one of the ways that you can easily put yourself ahead of a lot of different people for most songs when it comes to stamina heal cheesing. You want to put a lot of SK types in two strategies, and then your kind of third side strategy, you want to have cards that increase skill activation rate whenever you switch strategies. And so your two main strategies, the reason why you want to have SK types in them is because of the strategy switch time down. If you're swapping between two strategies full of SK types, right, it only takes 3 notes to switch back. And decreasing that switch time means that you can more actively try to activate your side strat, which, you know, if you're lucky, you'll have a first FES heal, a Parade Pana, Snowhale Shimaki, Cheerleader Yohane, Borarara Umi. Like, you'll have a lot of those cards that where their live show active gives a skill activation rate up upon strategy switch, and you just abuse going back and forth between strategies and cutting your switch times down. This is a very, very solid SR. probably one of the better healing SRs in the game. Is it a gotta have? I mean, not every single SR is a gotta have, but if you happen upon this SR, it's a really, really good get. Then we have Water Blue New World Yohane. Elegant attribute, voltage type. 79-15 base appeal, 58-55 base stamina, 64-94 base technique. That leaves her at about a 19% crit rate, for those of you wondering. Her tap active is actually not bad. Increases appeal by 7% for the next 5 notes. Affects cards in the same strategy. She has the very selfish appeal buff, right? Buffing only her own appeal by 7%. Then we have a LSA that is not great. The very first appeal chance that you get to, you gain 77% of her appeal as voltage. Now, if you were to just take these base values that are on the card, 79-15 times 77%, it's a whopping 6,000 extra voltage. Hooray. You know, that's like a 10th of a max value tap. So, unfortunately, this LSA is pretty damn near useless. But as far as being a decent scoring SR, this Yohane is decent. It's like slightly above average. And I say it's slightly above average just because of this tap active. You know, if you're going through Dreamlight Parade and you're wanting to do stuff and, you know, you're trying to conserve your URs for the last few songs of a tower or whatever, this tap active allows you to score a lot better, especially if you're using a lot of SR-only teams. She gives you a pretty decent upside of scoring while not needing Snowhalation Kotori or Soreboku Maki or No Brand Grows Umi and cards like that. So, yeah, pretty decent card. Pretty decent card. The SRs for this banner are pretty damn good. Alright, so now the face of the banner. Second FES Kanata, a smile attribute SP type. Kanata, max limit break, 13,922 base appeal, 4,970 base stamina, 14,252 base technique. For those of you that want to know what her crit rate is, at max limit break, this card's crit rate, kind of as it stands, is 57.75% according to Kirara. So, you know, you're getting really close up there. So it's, you know, if you're, you know, with your bond levels and bond board bonuses, you know, this card is close to a 60% crit rate if you have her Kanata's bond board pretty advanced. Unfortunately, however, she has a pretty niche tap skill for a lot of advanced, you know, long-time players. This is the Gauge Bomb. On the bright side, though, the Gauge Bomb, so the voltage that you add to your next SP skill, it's increased by 40% of her own technique, which is fantastic, right? Her technique is her highest stat, and I always say whenever you have tap skills that line up with the highest value in their stat kit, the card is already good. And for anybody wondering what the actual total is, 14,252, 40% of that. So on average, just her base technique as it stands will add about 5,700 to your gauge. And that's every time this tap skill activates. So if, let's say, you get this tap skill to go off, you know, say 3 times before you use a gauge, you're looking at about 17,000 voltage that you're adding to your SP gauge. So if you're having issues with songs that require, you know, large SP gauges, this could definitely be a card that helps you. Her passive, also not bad. Increases base appeal by 6.5% and increases base stamina by 3.2% for cards of the same attribute. This is actually kind of a big deal. Okay? This part of her kit is actually a pretty big deal, and I'll tell you why. Now, a lot of cards don't have, you know, this type of hybrid ability, right? Where you're increasing both appeal and stamina. Kind of the first thing that caught my eye when I was looking at this card is this very first line. Increase base appeal by 6.5% for cards of the same attribute. And I'll tell you why this is so important. Every other card that has a same attribute appeal buffing passive caps out at 5.2% unless it's a party card. Every other regular gacha and FES card that has had a same attribute appeal buffing passive has gotten one, and at max skill level, it is only gone to 5.2%. For example, the most recent FES Caddying, right? The most recent FES Caddying, her passive was a maximum 5.2% appeal buff to other active attribute cards. This is an additional 1.3% appeal increase. Okay? Then we get down to her LSA. Her LSA says increase base appeal by 1.2% until the live show ends. A 50% chance to activate upon using your SP gauge, and it only affects other Smile attribute cards. So, at baseline, this card, you know, with, let's say you go on this particular card with 4 medium group insights. I'm just throwing out 4 medium group insights kind of as a thing. Right? Baseline with this FES card, if she starts off with a 6.5% appeal buff plus the 8% total from 4 medium group insights, at baseline, she'll be giving a 14.5% appeal buff to all other Smile attribute cards, which is fantastic. However, I did say baseline because let's say you high roll on her live show active, and the first 3 SP gauges that you get, this live show active goes off. Now, after your first 3 SP gauges, you are now buffing the appeal of all of your Smile attribute cards by 18.1%. And Anime Holic is making a point. It does not say max, yes. So this live show active can be stacked, meaning this is a very, very good card for any type of advanced plus runs. right? Gauge Bomb tap active cards are, as of right now, kind of relegated to advanced, like some of the more difficult advanced plus songs with higher SP gauge requirements and such. This card will probably be an absolute beater for some of the other smile attribute songs that we'll be getting in the future. Is it skippable? Yes. Would I advise skipping on it? That's actually up to you. Because when we get to the second part of the banner, the second part of the banner is why people are, well, some people are upset, some people are happy. You know, to me, like, this card is definitely for advanced plus lives. This card, you know, smile attribute, advanced plus lives. This card is pretty damn good. I would say it's like a 9 or a 9.5. The stats of the card are really, really good. It has the crit profile. There just isn't a lot of times where you are going to need a very, very large SP Gauge Bomb. So this card will most likely be relegated to backline duties, especially if you have you know, 3 really, really powerful smile attribute cards in your front line. Like, let's say you're running a second FES, you're running a first FES Shioriko, and you're running a, you know, Mononoke Reno or a Moonrabbit Shizuku or something, and you're trying to take advantage of a smile attribute song, and, you know, you're using, you know, first FES Shioriko because she's really good for it. This card would definitely be a backliner alongside Party Setsuna, alongside Kanata's first FES card. And then, you know, you would probably end up taking out a card like an Initial Kanon, like a Magical Time Nozomi, to put this card in your formation. It's one of the only bombers with crit sense? Yes. Most cards that have the SP Gauge Bomb tap active tend to have like a very high appeal stat and like a very middling technique stat. So yes, this is a very rare style of card. Alright, then get to the second UR in the banner. A Smile Attribute SP type Setsuna. At max limit break, 13,260 base appeal, 5,966 base stamina, 13,922 base technique. So again, another crit profile card. Setsuna maxes out at 56.76% according to Kirara. Then Setsu gets another gauge fill card. Tap skill, providing a gauge fill maximum of 9%. Not surprising. Then we get basically similar to Kanata's, but instead of stamina, a technique buff for same attribute cards. 3.2%. Base appeal, 6.5%. If I had to choose between either of the two kits, Setsuna's is better, because most of the times you're only going to be worrying about appeal and technique. You're not going to be worrying about stamina on most of your other cards. Here's what makes this Setsuna card probably one of the ones that is going to get scouted a ton, and it might bring the Fesin Apocalypse Part 2. her live show active. Her live show active. Gain 800 SP gauge. 30% chance to activate upon strategy switch. Now, it's already been said in the chat. Oh, this is basically FES Emma. Yes. And if you want to compare this card to FES Emma, this Setsuna has 3,800 less appeal, or this Setsuna has 3,800 more appeal at max limit break than first FES Emma. Emma has 200 more base technique. Not a very even trade, if you ask me. Okay? The second part, and the part of the card which, you know, draws the most comparison, obviously, is the LSA. Emma's LSA provides a 40% chance upon strategy switch to add 600 to your SP gauge. Now, so if we extrapolate that out, so let's say these live show actives activate at their, on average, their normal rate, right? So this Setsuna will activate her gauge switch 3 times every 10 switches, and Emma will activate her LSA 4 times. 3 times 800 SP gauge, that's 2,400. Emma, 4 times 600 SP gauge, 2,400. Over the course of 10 strategy switches, these two cards will provide exactly the same gauge fill. Okay? Jazz, you realize how broken it will be when people pair these two together? Yes, and I was just going to get into that. So, right, let's say you backline both of these cards. Right? You backline both of these cards. Now, every 10 times you're switching in between strategies, if you have both of these cards at max limit break in your backline, you are looking at 2,400 plus 2,400. 4,800. That is 80% of a gauge on an advanced beat map. Advanced beat maps, the size of the SP gauge is 6,000. That's 80%. Now, can you backline this? Of course. Should you backline it, though? It depends. It depends on what song you're playing. If you're playing something like, let's say, a Wonder Zone and Angelic Angel, yeah, sure. Backline both of these cards because you probably won't have, you'll probably take this Setsuna, first FES Emma, and then like Party Setsuna most likely, and backline those 3, and then have 2 main strategies that you're switching between. Now, could you easily put Emma and Setsuna together in a secondary strategy and switch that back and forth between, you know, let's say you're playing Angelic Angel and you're using Party Kanata, first FES Ellie, and Party Kotori? Sure. You know, you can do that to maximize, you know. Just realize, though, that you may have to sacrifice a little bit as far as your max taps, which means that you're going to heavily rely on your gauge filling. So, this card, I hate to say it, it's as close to a gotta have card, basically since Party Koto. If you have enough gems to spark this banner, I would highly suggest it. This is a very, very above average banner. The downside though is you will, if you do end up pulling both of the cards, you will be stuck with 2 cards in the same attribute and typing, right? Both of these cards are smile attribute SP types. So you don't get a lot in the way of diversification of your card pool, in attributes. If you're severely lacking on really, really strong smile attribute cards, however, and you're ready to spark, I would definitely spark this one. So yeah. I mean, the Kanata is a little less of a must-have. This Kanata is more geared towards, defeating a lot of the more difficult Advanced Plus and Expert difficulty songs. Setsuna is generally going to be slightly better for Advanced Plus, but for both of these, because of their kits and their increased base appeal buff for same attribute cards, both of the cards are really, really good. Both of the cards are really, really good. But yeah, that's gonna be it. If you guys have any questions or comments about this FES banner that's starting in a few hours, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. And until later, we'll see you next time. Bye, YouTube!